Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm Andrew Destin, reporter for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joined by our Penguins beat reporter, Matt Vensel, to recap the team's road trip and preview the Penguins' upcoming cluster of games. As Pittsburgh went a perfect 3-0 in its road trip, which means Mike Sullivan and the coaching staff will be sporting some mustaches, at least for the Winter Classic, or at least up until the Winter Classic on January 2nd, due to a deal they cut with the players. So, Matt, wanted to talk to you about this recent road trip, and let's start with that Winnipeg game. Tristan Jarry had a 32-save shutout against a really solid Jet squad, allowing the Penguins to win that game 3-0. What was working well for him in net on Saturday?
Well, I should start off by saying the team played great in front of them. That was probably their best defensive effort of the season. I know the players and the coaching staff were quite pleased. I mean, that game was 0-0 through two periods, and they stayed patient, didn't take chances, and played well in front of them. But, Tristan was good, too, when they broke down, making 32 saves, a few really good ones. He made a nice save in the first period where he shuffled across. He just looked like he had his confidence back. He was playing bigger in net, like sitting up taller when he dropped to his knees, and he was tracking pucks really well. And, he got better as the game went on. I mean, the first shot of the game, a puck hit him, trickled through, and sat behind him for a couple seconds, and a teammate had to clear it away, and it was like, oh, here we go again. But, he really settled in and played better. I'm at the morning skate now at PPG Paints Arena. That's why you hear the pingings of pucks in the background. So I anticipate he's going to start against Calgary, and this is a great test for him. I mean, the Penguins were very impressed with Calgary when they played him a few weeks ago up in Calgary, and if Tristan can deliver another good game here, that's going to give the Penguins even more confidence that he's heading back in the right direction.
I was just going to say, we've got some pretty good acoustics behind you there with all the pucks going up against the boards.
I am not in a war zone. I feel like I should be on like CNN right now, like reporting from a war zone. But no, it's just morning skate.
Yeah, quite a little bit of a difference there. But talk about Sunday's game a little bit as well against the Blackhawks. It was certainly a closer one at the United Center. And that's been a place that's been a house of horrors, really, for the last decade for the Penguins whenever they've gone there. And Casey DeSmith maybe wasn't quite as strong as Jarry in net, but still pretty effective in helping Pittsburgh get that second win in consecutive nights. What did you think was the key to the Penguins' success in that one against Chicago?
Getting an early lead and hanging on for dear life. I mean, look, it was an emotional night with Evgeny Malkin's 1,000th game. The team was amped up. You mentioned the history there in Chicago. Some players obviously are aware of it. Others were not. But for whatever reason, that's been a tough place for them to play. I mean, obviously the Blackhawks were really good for a long time there. But, yeah, I just think the fact that they didn't have their A game, and really they probably didn't even have their B game in the second half of the game, and the fact that they were still able to hang on. They gave up a 3-goal lead and answered right back with that goal from Sidney Crosby. So, you pull away from that game and you're like, oh, man, that wasn't their best effort. But I do think there's something to be said for this team, at least at this point in the season, the fact that they were able to kind of put that third goal behind them and answer right back and get out of there with the win.
Yeah, you mentioned that being Gino's 1,000th game. Also got to see the stretching routine. I'm sure you did from all the players who were mimicking that.
We all did it up in the press box, too.
There you have it. I want to touch on something you wrote about this week as well, and that's Pittsburgh's penalty kill unit. Penguins have been a perfect 10 for 10 on the PK in their last 4 games. Why do you think they've been able to turn that unit that was kind of an Achilles heel, I guess you could say, for them earlier in the season, now into one of their greatest strengths?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, that's one good thing they had going for them in Chicago, going 2 for 2 in the third period of that game. But, yeah, it's night and day. I mean, getting Teddy Bluger back helps. He's arguably their best penalty killing forward. He knows the system, just a very good, smart player. But it's a lot more than that. It was expected that they would struggle. I mean, they were integrating, their 4, basically the 4 guys they added who were on the NHL roster. They all are on the PK unit. Marcus Pettersson is a PK regular, so they were working in a lot of new players who had to get used to the system and get used to each other. So it was going to take some time. But, yeah, you're seeing it in a lot of different areas. And you see the up-ice pressure where guys like Poehling and Archibald are just hounding the puck like way down near the goal line and the other end and making teams really exert a lot of energy to get up the ice. And then inside the zone, they're defending better. They're playing, they're a cohesive unit. They're all moving on a string together where that wasn't really the case. And then clears. I mean, when there are opportunities to get clears, they're getting to pucks and not just trying to fire it out, but working together to get a good clear, a smart clear. So they're number 1 in the NHL over the last few weeks in dump out rate per Sport Logic. So it's a lot of factors coming together there. And, yeah, add it all up, and suddenly they're all the way up to 14th in the league overall.
Yeah, pretty quick turnaround for them, especially with some of those breakaway opportunities. It seems like being more aggressive on that side of the puck Wanted to ask you one more before we look ahead to the games against Calgary and Philadelphia. Crosby, he had an excellent road trip after a rough outing for him during the Penguins' last loss. He was on the ice for each of Toronto's 5 goals in that losing effort to the Maple Leafs a little bit over a week ago. It seemed like even by Crosby's lofty standards, he turned things up a notch with 10 points in 3 games. What did you see from him on this road trip?
I saw that he is still very good at hockey. Look, I mean, he's 35. I don't know if he's playing at an MVP level, but he's certainly at a point where, if the season ended today, he would get some consideration for sure. And, one of these years, he's not going to be that type of player, but it doesn't appear to be this year. He's been excellent, putting Raquel back on his line. Certainly, kind of gave that line a little bit of a nudge after that, they were on for all 5 goals against Toronto last week. But, that's what we've seen from Sid time and time and again. Anytime he has a game like that where he's on the ice for a lot of goals, he was a -4. He always seems to bounce back in a big way. And sure enough, he did it on this trip with some big goals. And as you said, piling up 10 points in those 3 games en route to getting NHL's first star of the week honors.
Yeah, seems like that line shake-up with him and Gino's lines has worked out pretty well for them. Now I wanted to turn our attention to the task at hand for the Penguins. They host Calgary tonight, obviously you being there at morning skate today. Before they head on the road again for a quick trip to Philadelphia, this Flames team is pretty average according to most metrics, but they're hot, no pun intended, with wins in 4 of their last 5. What kind of threat does this Calgary team pose tonight? What are you looking for?
Look, this is one of the best teams in the league. I had them as my preseason pick to win the Stanley Cup. I still feel good about it despite some uneven results for them. I mean, when the Penguins were up there a few weeks ago, Calgary took it to them, and the players were, some of the players after the game were like, wow, that was a really good team. So they certainly impressed the Penguins. So, yeah, I mean, they have some new faces coming in there after the Tkachuk trade. They brought in Kadri. I think he's been a great addition. Weegar, Huberdeau. It's just all coming together. But this is a deep team, a big team, a physical team, great defense, very good goaltending with Markstrom. And, even though they didn't really, start the season out gangbusters, they're hitting their stride now, and I expect them to just carry steam. And, this is on my short list of teams that could win the Cup this year.
Yeah, big praise for the team out of the Western Conference. And now looking ahead to Friday, obviously on Saturday they play again as well, but looking more immediately, the Flyers, a few points behind the Pens in the Metropolitan Division. It's been nearly 2 weeks since this Philadelphia squad came back down to earth, and they last won during a 7-game losing streak right now. How can the Penguins ensure that John Tortorella's Flyers don't begin to right the ship against Pittsburgh?
Yeah, they would not be on my short list of contenders. They would have to be a fairly long list, like maybe 30 of 32 teams. Look, it's not to be unexpected. With Torts, he's a very good coach. He may wear players out over time, but, we've seen time and time and again, he typically maximizes the talent that he has. But in this case, he just doesn't have a ton of talent, and the Flyers have some injuries. Carter Hart, he carried them earlier in the year. And that hasn't been the case. But, yeah, this just is not a great team. It's a rebuilding team. So for the Penguins, it's always emotional when they play the Flyers. Torts factor will ratchet it up. So for them, they just have to play within themselves. Don't get too greedy. Don't chase the game. Don't do the silly giveaways. I'm looking at you, Chris Letang. And just settle in and play a sound hockey game and just let their system and their talent win out. So I will say that's a fun one. I'm not thrilled about having to drive to Philly early Friday morning with all that tryptophan and maybe a little bit of IPA in my system to get up there to watch the game. But I think it should be a good one on a Friday night for hockey fans to tune in for.
Yeah, gotta believe you'll have some Thanksgiving leftovers packed with you for the car, maybe, for that drive.
Wow, that's a power move, just like eating a tub of mashed potatoes while I drive across the PA Turnpike. It's probably illegal.
Yeah, something like that. That's about all the time we got here. Matt, anything else from you here at Morning Skate?
No, I better get out of here. I hear a lot more pucks. You guys probably hear it too, so I better go see what's going on.
Awesome. I'll let you go, Matt. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated with our latest content. If you haven't already, check out the subscription deal in the description below. $6, 6 months of access. There's plenty of sports news to keep up with, and you don't want to miss it. Matt, thanks so much for your time. Get out of here. We will see you all again soon.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed it on Apple Podcasts, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. For 6 months of digital access to post-gazette.com for just $6, click the link down in the description.